It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Support for this podcast comes from Invent Together. I bet you didn't know that inventing activity by Black inventors peaked in 1899, and it has never recovered. Black and Hispanic college graduates patented half the rate of white college graduates. That's just one of the reasons why you need to know about Invent Together. When our patent system gets more diverse, our nation will get stronger and more successful. Find out how you can help diverse inventors and unleash economic opportunity at inventtogether.org.
You are Locked On Baylor, your daily podcast on the Baylor Bears, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Bet Online, the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your sports action. Football might be over, but NBA, college basketball, and NHL are in full swing. Bet Online even covers awards, TV shows, and reality TV. Real-time updates, odds, and props on almost everything you can imagine. Bet Online has you covered for all your news, scores, and odds. It's the best way to place your bets, and it's all free to sign up. Head to the website or use the mobile device to sign up today to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, your online sports experts. Promo code Locked On.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Locked On Baylor podcast. I am your host, Garrett Ross. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you had a great weekend. Man, the weather was perfect. You had tons of Baylor sports activities to take in. It was an ideal weekend if you're a Baylor fan. And so today's show, what we're going to do is we're going to start off here and we're going to kind of take a look. We'll do our bare necessities. We'll look at some of the sports that took place over the weekend. We'll take a look at acrobatics and tumbling. We'll take a look at men's golf. We'll take a look at some tennis action. We'll go over their results from the weekend. We'll do that here in segment 1. Coming up in segment 2, we're going to take a look at the Baylor baseball team. They had a conference series over the weekend with West Virginia. You know, I've detailed their struggles in conference play throughout the season so far. They were able to get 2 from the Mountaineers. They dropped Sunday's affair. We'll get into that more. But they were able to get 2 out of 3 from West Virginia. So that was a good start and a good way to kind of get an edge on the conference play. And then in segment 3, we want to get into some football action. Coach Aranda and guys that came in last year, new scheme, new philosophy, and did what they could. You have new coaching changes on the offensive side this year. They were able to get out and have practice. It was open to the public on Saturday. I hope you made it out there. If you didn't, don't worry. You have another opportunity coming up to see Coach Aranda and the Bears next Saturday at 10:30 a.m. at McLean Stadium. We'll detail more of that as well. But in segment 3, I will let you hear from Coach Aranda. He'll touch on, obviously, some of the key topics leading into the season. Quarterback battle, offensive line, defensive line play. He touches on all of that. I'll let you hear from him. And also, what he learned about himself last year. I mean, this is a guy coming off a national championship at LSU, and he takes his first head coaching job at Baylor. So we'll kind of get into that as well. But over the weekend, Baylor acrobatics and tumbling, in which this is one of those sports where it's really cool. I mean, if you go out there and you watch flips and everything, it's really neat. Coach Felicia Mulkey has done a tremendous job here at Baylor. But not only that, she's done a tremendous job building this sport from scraps, just from the ground up and building it. About her success and her time at Oregon. And it's real weird because Baylor is always in the mix. Baylor is always usually in first place in this. And they actually entered this series with Oregon as third place. I mean, Baylor's never, that far out. But like I was telling J-Mo, that it's kind of a testament to where it shows the growth of the sport. And that's something that Coach Mulkey's definitely got to be proud of. But over the weekend, they were able to close out the regular season with a victory over number 2 Oregon. They were able to win 5 of the 6 events in this to knock off Oregon on Saturday. Coach Mulkey said, we got a lot we can still clean up. They improved to 16-2 against her former team and 63-2 overall in 7 years at Baylor. Think about that, y'all. 63-2 overall. That is so impressive. She went on to say, we're where we need to be in the mindset-wise, and I think it's usually more than half the battle. We feel pretty good going into the championship. So they're looking to hoping to carry this momentum into the championship. That's going to take place on April 22nd and 23rd. It will be at the Farrell Center. Baylor has won 5 straight national titles before last year's meet was canceled due to COVID. So hopefully Coach Mulkey and the Bears can come out and they can get that 6th title for the program and kind of go in, carry that momentum over. Other things that happened over the weekend, soccer finished up their spring season tilt. They went up to Oklahoma. They beat the Sooners 2-1 up there. This was, if you remember, early on into the fall season, they were able to beat Oklahoma as well. That was a 1-0 match that they won in overtime. So it's one of those things. Allie Henderson, she netted a game winner in the 86th minute to put Baylor up. Really tremendous performance. Taylor Moon scored her 6th goal of the season and her 11th of her career. Jennifer Want picked up her 44th career win between the pipes. She also has 5 wins from tying. She's 5 wins from tying Dawn Greathouse for the most all-time in Baylor history. So that's really impressive for her. Baylor moves on to 2-0 versus the Sooners this season, and they will. Coach Jobson said that, they're going to close out the regular season against Texas Tech on 2 p.m. Saturday at the Lou. So if you want to go out and support Coach Jobson and the Lady Bears soccer program, go out there. It should be great weather. But as far as the match goes, Coach Jobson said he was really proud of the girls. He said Oklahoma played weak defensively, which led to a ton of opportunities. They scored 2 fantastic goals as well. I'm most proud of the poise and determination they had after the OU goal. It was an attitude that set them well for the win. So there you go, the right mindset for the Baylor soccer team. Coach Jobson always has them ready to compete no matter what. As far as men's tennis goes, they pushed their win streak up to 9 with a doubleheader sweep over Abilene Christian and number 19 Texas Tech. So they beat Abilene Christian and they beat Texas Tech. Baylor is 25-3 on the season, 3-0. They remain unbeaten in league play with a 6-1 win over the Red Raiders, and it marked their 42nd consecutive doubleheader sweep, taking both ends of a twin bill for the 6th time this season. So the men's tennis team continues to roll. They are ranked 3rd in the nation. Lots of success there. Men's golf gotten back in action as well. They were in the Aggie Invitational over the weekend. And Luke Dawsey finished 3rd individually in his career first appearance for Baylor. Baylor men's golf finished 5th place, 54-hole total, 12 over par, 876 at the Aggie Invitational. So lots of success there for the Baylor men's golf team as well. And then other things that happened over the weekend, like I mentioned, was the football, which we'll get into in the 3rd segment, and Baylor baseball, which was coming up next in the 2nd segment. But that's kind of an overview. That is our bare necessities for things that happened this weekend in Baylor athletics. As you can see, continued success across the board. It's a good time to be a Baylor Bear. The weather's ticking up. I hope you have an opportunity to get out there, take advantage of the weather, and go support all these great student athletes across the board in all of these sports. Baylor does a tremendous job, and these kids deserve the recognition. Get out there and support your Baylor Bears. But coming up in segment 2, we are going to dive into Baylor baseball. They get a 2-1, they get 2 wins over West Virginia, and they get the series win. They drop the Sunday affair, but it's good momentum to build going forward. In segment 3, we'll take a look at the open scrimmage that the football team had on Saturday. We will take a look at that as well. But coming up next, you're going to dive right into Baylor baseball. You're listening to the Locked On Baylor podcast. I am your host, Garrett Ross.
The improved Built Bar is even more deliciouser. 18 amazing flavors, including nut and non-fruit flavors, 6 new flavors, caramel brownie, cookies and cream, cherry marcia, lemon almond cheesecake, carrot cake, apple almond crisp, 12 original flavors, coconut almond, raspberry, German chocolate, peanut butter, banana bread, mint brownie, salted caramel, double chocolate, orange, toffee almond, coconut, peanut butter brownie. Bars are covered in 100% chocolate, soft and easy to chew.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back into the Locked On Baylor podcast. I am your host, Garrett Ross. You can catch me on Twitter at _Garrett Ross. Hit me up. Any questions, comments, concerns, I got you. Just let me know, and we'll take care of that. And also, if you want to hear me, you can catch me every day on 1660 ESPN. I start with J-Mo, the voice of the Bears. We go from 2 to 3. Then my boy Stretch Smith comes in. We go 3 to 4. And then we wrap it up every day with Tom Barfield and myself taking you home on game time from 4 to 6 p.m. So if you want to listen, feel free. All support is greatly appreciated. But let's get into this Baylor baseball. So Baylor baseball has struggled in conference play all season long. They were welcoming in West Virginia for a home series that began on Friday night and wrapped up on Sunday. And one of the interesting nuggets coming into this series that I found intriguing as a lefty was that 4 of the starting pitchers in this matchup, in this series, were going to be left-handed pitchers. I thought that that's something pretty rare. West Virginia, all 3 of their starters they threw out there were lefties, and then Baylor had one on the hill as well in the first game. But man, this was one of those series where Baylor really had to push themselves. They really had to test their will and find out how bad they really wanted to be successful on the diamond. This was a game where in the first game, Baylor had to put up 5 runs in the 8th to complete their second straight comeback win of the season. West Virginia really had Baylor locked down through the first 7 innings of the game. Their pitcher, Jackson Wolf, was on fire. Baylor had no answer for him at all, man. But, Baylor was able to turn things on into the 8th inning. They sent 9 batters to the plate in the 8th and scored 5 runs on 5 hits and 1 hit batter to pull out the 6-3 come-from-behind victory. So that's really impressive. I think it kind of shows the guts of this team. And, when you're facing a pitcher like Jackson Wolf, it is really hard, and you really got to stay mentally engaged. So Baylor was able to get the win in Game 1. It was really important for them. In Game 2, you got to get these games down. You got to win these series. It's very vital. And Baylor came out strong in Game 2, and they were able to take the lead early on 2-0. Jack Padina got things started for Baylor. He reached on an error, then later scored after Trey Richardson hit a double down the right field line to bring him in. Andy Thomas comes up and hits a single up the middle, brings in Trey Richardson, and Baylor kind of took control of the game. West Virginia came back, though. They were able to get 2 runs across in the 4th inning. They took a 4-3 lead on Baylor, and Baylor was able to bounce back with a 2-run double from Thomas in the bottom of the 4th to take the 5-4 lead. Kay Currington came in, used a sacrifice fly to build the Bears' lead to 6-4. Baylor continued to add runs, the RBI single from Kyle Nevlin, and he pushed the advantage to 7-4, which Baylor was able to go out. They were able to control the tempo and use that, and that was the final. Baylor got the win 7-4. Both teams held each other scoreless in the final 5 innings. So Luke Boyd came in. He earned his 3rd consecutive save, shutting the door in the 9th. So it's good to see the closing. We talked about the closing pitchers, how they've struggled throughout the year. Luke Boyd was able to come up and be clutch. And then Jimmy Winston as well. He earned his 4th win of the year as a reliever. So big thanks from the bullpen, and that has been really one of my concerns all year long for the Bears. But they were able to come through and help them secure that win. And then on Sunday, though, they were not able to close things out. West Virginia was able to get the win 8-4 over Baylor. The Bears had a 3-0 lead early, and then West Virginia just slowly and methodically chipped away, and they were able to come back in and get the win. Coach Rod, Coach Rod is Coach Rod. After the game, he said hats off to their starter. He had 4 pitches against our guys. I'll be honest, I told our guys after the game that I think their outfield won the game for them. They went out and they made some unbelievable plays in center field and right field, left field late in the game, robbed another hit. We had 4 or 5 extra base hits that they took away from us. To their credit, that's what it takes to win baseball games. I'm proud of our guys for competing throughout the whole game, putting pressure on them. We just couldn't get that hit. That's how baseball is, man. Sometimes you have it, sometimes you don't. West Virginia was able to get that win on Sunday. But as of now, Baylor is 19-3 on the season at Baylor Ballpark. They're 8-1 in the homestands this year. They are 4-4 on Sunday games. And like I mentioned earlier with Jared McKenzie, the kid's been balling out. He tied his career high for the 3rd time with doubles. He had 2 doubles in the game, was able to knot things up. And then Richardson hit his 2nd triple of the season and the 3rd of his career. So they're getting the production at the plate. The pitching seems to be ticking up a little bit. It's still a work in progress. But it's what you need to see. And they're going to get things back going on Tuesday. They scheduled that non-conference game midweek matchup with Sam Houston State. That game's going to be in Huntsville, and first pitch will be at 6:30. And it's going to be the first of a 7-game road series. So Baylor really needs to get this win, ride that momentum going into this. It's going to be crucial. But some of the notes here, Jared McKenzie, he had 4 at-bats in the series, 2 hits. he scored 2 runs. Jack Medina, he had 4 at-bats, 1 run scored, 1 hit. Trey Richardson, 3 at-bats, 1 hit, 2 RBIs. And Davion Downey, 4 at-bats, 1 hit, 1 RBI. So, I mean, these guys get it going. Hopefully they can get this momentum. They can carry it in, ride things out on this 7-game road series that they're about to begin. But coming up next in segment 3, we're going to dive into Baylor football. We're going to take a look at the weekend, what they were able to do out there, what they were able to accomplish on the field in that first open scrimmage practice for to fans. I mean, you had fans that come out and they were able to take that in. So we're going to dive into that. We'll let you hear from Coach Aranda on a variety of topics. All that is coming up next here on the Locked On Baylor podcast. What's up, everybody? Welcome back into the Locked On Baylor podcast. I'm your host, Garrett Ross. Man, we're going to wrap this thing up, and we are going to do it with football. We are going to talk about the Baylor Bears, Coach Aranda and guys. They opened up practice on Saturday, and you were able to go out. I hope you were able to attend that. They will be doing the same thing next Saturday, and just like this one, it's going to start at 10:30. Come out to McLean Stadium, go in through Gate B, and you can just go watch the Baylor Bears. You have an opportunity to put eyes on them. I know last year a lot of you might not have had the opportunity to see them in person. It's going to be a new look. I'm really interested to see what Coach Grimes is able to do on the offensive end, especially with running backs. When you look last year, the running backs were just not used at all. You had so much talent, and just they weren't able to utilize them. I mean, the lack of production at the running back position last year was really mind-boggling. I don't understand it. They put a lot of pressure on Charlie Brewer, and just it was a bad situation all the way around. But hopefully they can get that turned around. And speaking of Charlie Brewer, I mean, that's been the one consistent for this team over the past few years. You knew coming into it, regardless of the shape of the O-line or who you were going to have out there at receiver, what you were going to get from the defensive end, that one steady, you always knew you were going to have Charlie Brewer in the pocket and leading the charge. That's not going to be the case no more. He's off in Utah doing big things with the Utes. So now you have an open competition, and I think Jerry Hill from Baylor Bear Insider, Jerry Hill had a really good point that this is kind of the biggest and most wide-open quarterback competition since RG3's freshman year. And I think he's got a very good point. When you look at the guys at hand, you got Jacob Zeno, who most people believe is going to be your front runner. You have Gary Bohannon coming back. You got Blake Shapen in the mix. And you got true freshman Kyron Jones coming in as well. So it's wide open. I think that Gary Bohannon and Jacob Zeno, obviously they have the most reps, but neither one of them really have a totality of reps that you can rely on to know that, hey, they're going to lead us going forward into the future. So the quarterback competition is something that everybody is keeping an eye on. Obviously, all the guys looked really good over the weekend. It's going to be a work in progress, and it's a level playing field for all of them, right? So you have a whole new offensive scheme. Everybody's learning this at their own pace. So I think that's really crucial because it's going to be the one who can lock on and adapt that's going to be the one thrown out into the fire to lead your Baylor Bears. So that's something that Coach Aranda talked about. He was asked about the quarterback competition and what he saw from the guys during that day. And here's Coach Aranda on the quarterbacks.
I thought you were able to see some big play potential with Gary and Zeno. I thought Blake, you were able to see some of his arm talent and some of his creativity. And so I thought, what you saw today was what we're seeing. I think this is a good first step today. I think there's things that we can improve on for sure. And so I think part of the eval is, hey, this is where it's at, right? These are the cues. This is the area of improvement. Let's see who can attack that and who can take others with them too. And so I think that's a big piece of it coming up.
There he goes. That is your head coach, Dave Aranda. And as you can see, I mean, he knows it's all guys. They have a different skill set. They were able to display what benefits them and what carries them and what makes them so successful. And it's going to be fun to see which one takes the charge and which one's out there taking that first snap against Texas State when the Bears kick off the season. It's going to be a lot of fun. And one of the things, you got to think about this. Remember, Coach Aranda comes in, and he doesn't really have an opportunity to engage with his players. With COVID, it was just an awkward situation. He did the best he could. And when you do that, I mean, you got to learn a lot about yourself. You're a first-year head coach, and you're in these just ungodly circumstances. But he managed. He persevered. Well, Coach Aranda was asked about what he learned about himself last year during all of that adversity.
A lot. And what's crazy about that is that for me personally, it's always been thinking about things like that. And so then you think that you have a read of all of it, and then you find out that you don't. And so that right there is big. That's somewhat unnerving, really. But then I think, the opportunity to learn and grow is always there. And I think, we preach that so much to our players that the better than preaching it is to live it, because then they see it.
There he is. That's Coach Aranda, man. He's like listening to a philosopher, man. I can listen to Coach Aranda all day. He's real methodical, and he takes a lot of pride, and he's thoughtful with his answers. I know some people that might drive you crazy after listening to Coach Rule, and just him, being his personality was just night and day from Coach Aranda. But Coach Aranda reminds me of really, he's a philosopher, and I love listening to it. And I greatly appreciate what he's been able to do for the Baylor Bears. But obviously, another thing coming into this season is going to be the play of your offensive line. They just haven't been good, right? And you've got to find a way to get them going. And not just the offensive line, but the defensive line as well. You got to be able to stop guys at the point of attack and not let them get into that second and third level of your defense. So that's going to be something we're watching over the year, how things progress. You have Connor Galvin. He's going to be your senior leader. He's going to be the elder statesman on the offensive line. So hopefully they can put things together. But here's Coach Aranda talking about what he saw from the progression of the offensive and defensive line, not only yesterday, but throughout the offseason as well.
We want to be known through O-line and D-line play. And, we've challenged our coaches, and we've challenged our players for that to take place. I think I don't know really the right way to say it. I think in the past, or at least for us last year, there were times that we tried to manage those two position groups in terms of not necessarily featuring them, but trying to complement them / minimize them / hide them. And so the more that we can show up, and really everything kind of runs through them. And I think the weight room is the start there. I think Vic, and then the edge that comes with added strength gain, because I think then you have a confidence, and then you build that confidence with things that are easy to execute, right? Where there's not mathematical formulas or things that have to be worked out prior to a play. It's, hey, here's 1, 2, 3 to block this man. Let's block him. Or here's 1, 2, 3 to get off this block and make this play. So now you're giving guys things that are that can be easily executed, and confidence can grow even more. And so everything is geared to those two groups. And so there's good and bad of it today. I think it's good step anyways.
There he is. That is Coach Dave Aranda. And, man, it's going to be a fun season for Baylor football. Like I mentioned, if you didn't have an opportunity to get out this past weekend and take in the open practice, there will be another one coming up this Saturday as well. It's going to be at 10:30. And then within the next couple of weeks, you're going to be diving into a full-blown scrimmage that you can go out there and take care, or spring game. It'll be the spring game that you can go out and take in. But a lot of good things, a lot of good momentum riding across Baylor athletics right now. It's a good time to be a Baylor Bear. And it's only going to get better. So as things progress, we're going to keep an eye on football, and we're going to keep an eye on all the other sports that are going on, and we'll keep you in tune. What I want to do later on this week, what I want to really dive into is recruiting. I'm going to try to link up with my man Tim Watkins. He's my editor over at Baylor247sports.com. We're going to see if we could break down some of these high-caliber recruits, who these key targets are for Baylor. We'll go by position and let you kind of get in tune and in touch with some of these guys and know who to keep an eye on as the high school football season approaches. If you want to keep track of those recruits and see what they're doing, how they're progressing, you can do that as well. So that's one of the things I have on the docket for this week. We're going to check out and see how the week progresses, and I'll lay out the rest. But that's one thing I really want to start putting a point of emphasis on is recruiting and letting you get to know some of these guys who Baylor wants to bring in and let become the next part of this culture, this family of Baylor football. So that's what we're going to have coming up later this week. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to this. I hope it's informative. I hope you enjoy it. And I appreciate your support. I cannot emphasize that enough. I greatly appreciate your support. Without you, there is no Locked On Baylor podcast. But I appreciate your time and look forward to rejoining you tomorrow. This has been the Locked On Baylor podcast.